Sorry. Um, this is Northwest Orient Flight 2501 story time. I hope you have a good day, good night, or good morning, depending on when you're listening to this. Currently, it's according to my computer time, it's about an hour ahead. It's 12. According to my computer, it's actually 11. But I hope you're having a decent day. Let's get into it. Well, Flight 2501 was a DC-4 prop liner operating its daily transcontinental service between New York and Seattle when it disappeared on the night of June 23rd, 1950. The flight was carrying 55 passengers and 3 crew members. The loss of all 58 on board made it the deadliest commercial airliner accident in America at the time. The aircraft was approximately 3,000 feet or 1,100 meters over Lake Michigan, 18 miles or 29 kilometers northwest of Benton Harbor, Michigan, when flight controllers lost radio contact soon after the pilot had requested a descent to 2,500 feet or 760 meters. Witnesses report hearing an engine sputtering and a flash of light after the last radio transmission. A widespread search was commenced, last time I did that wrong, including using sonar and tracking the bottom of Lake Michigan with trawlers, but to no avail. Considerable light debris, upholstery, and human body fragments were found floating on the surface, but divers were unable to locate the plane's wreckage. Here's the possible cause. It's known that Flight 2501 was entering squall line in turbulence, but since the plane's wreckage underwater was not found, the cause of the crash was never determined. There's an output from a Hindcast simulation of the possible weather conditions during the event. The incident was reported as follows. A Northwest Airlines DC-4 airplane with 58 persons aboard, last reported over Lake Michigan early today, was still missing tonight after hundreds of planes and boats had worked to trace the craft or any survivors. All air and surface craft suspended this search search operations off Milwaukee at nightfall, except the Coast Guard cutter Woodbine. The airplane, a 4-engine air coach bound from New York to Minneapolis and Seattle, was last heard from at 1:13 o'clock this morning. New York time. Sorry, I didn't realize there was a comma. When it was reported over Lake Michigan, having crossed the eastern shoreline near South Haven, Michigan, the craft was due over Milwaukee at 1:27 a.m. and at Minneapolis at 3:23 a.m. If all on board are lost, the crash will be the most disastrous in history of American commercial aviation. The plane carried a capacity load of 55 passengers and a crew of 3, headed by Captain Robert Lind, 35 years old, of Hopkins, Minnesota. In Minneapolis, Northwest Airlines said the craft was presumed to be down, and they were beginning notification of relatives. In this last report, Captain Lind requested permission to descend from 3,500 feet to 2,500 feet because of severe electrical storm which was lashing the lake with high-velocity winds. Permission to descend was denied by the Civil Aeronautic Authority because there was too much air traffic at the lower altitude. June 25th, 1950. The aftermath. The missing airliner is a subject of an annual search by Michigan Shipwreck Research Association. If I say MSRA, that's what it's calling. That's what it is. A Michigan-based nonprofit organization. The search effort began in 2004 as a joint venture between author and explorer Clive Cussler and the MSRA. Cussler ended his involvement in 2013, but sent his side scan sonar operator back to Michigan in 2015, 16, and 2017 to follow some leads discovered by MSRA. In September 2008, going back in time, MSRA affiliate Chris Lyon, investigating the crash of Flight 2501, found an unmarked grave that contains the remains of 58 victims. Valerie von Hest, MSRA co-director and author of the book Fatal Crossing, says human remains from the June 1950 crash into Lake Michigan washed ashore and were buried in a mass grave. She claims they were buried in a St. Joseph area cemetery without the knowledge of the victims' families, and the grave was never marked. In 2008, a ceremony at the cemetery with 58 family members of Flight 2501, a large black granite marker, donated by the Filbrandt family funeral home, was placed in Riverview Cemetery that now lists the names of 58 and the words, "In memory of Northwest Flight 2501, June 23rd, 1950, gone but never forgotten." And another mass burial site was discovered in 2015 at Lakeview Cemetery in South Haven. The site had been long unmarked until cemetery sexton Mary Ann Fraser and her mother, Beverly Smith, working on a genealogy project, found it. The women I can't speak today. Contacted Von Hest, and together they planned a memorial service before the 65th anniversary. Phil Brandt organized this service, which was led by Pastor Robert Lindstrom. Saint Joe Monument Works donated a marker for the gravesite. It was delivered to the cemetery a few days before the 65th anniversary of the crash. On Wednesday, June 24th, 2015, remembrance was held at the gravesite. South Haven Mayor Robert Burr, along with Craig Rich from the MSRA, read off the names of all 58 victims. After each name was read, a bell was rung. Thank you for listening to my story that I've decided to read. I hope you have a good night, day, evening, or whenever you're reading this or hearing this. I had to redo this because my audio was bad. And thank you for my family members for listening to this. Have a good night, day, morning, and I'll see you next time.